So yeah, so obviously Christ, as we have been taught from the Christian schools or Christian book of faith, from churches or from our homes and families, we understand Christ on the personified level. We don't understand Christ beyond that, beyond the fact that he was physical, like I am today, I'm talking to you. So we're just going to go above that, although we'll start discussing the physiological aspect, and then we'll discuss what I call the software or the the intangible aspects of this topic. And so obviously, as we know that Christ died in a place called Golgotha, or was crucified in a place called Golgotha. The word Golgotha simply means a place of skull. So this area of the body, which also in the esoteric realm we call it, this is the Holy Land, or heaven, should I say, or the place of honey, milk and honey. This is the place here. We're talking obviously the intangible aspect or the internal aspect of this place, this dome, the head, and therefore the brain structures. This is what we're talking about: the medulla oblongata, the pons cerebellum, the cerebrum, the both glands, the pineal, the pituitary gland, and also the optic thalamus. So obviously this is where magic happens. This is where the energy, or what we say, the Christ energy, has to rise to be Christed, be crucified, and therefore turn back around or go down again in this what we call the spinal cord, which represents obviously the Jacob's ladder, also represents in its 33 vertebrae, represents the life Christ lived on this quote-unquote physical nature or physical experience, which we call life in human form. So obviously all of these things are principles, because Christ lives within us. This body represents the temple, and therefore what the temple is housing is spirit. And therefore excuse me, and therefore obviously once we are born, and then this Christ energy is reduced to the denser level of consciousness, which is this third dimensional reality, and therefore it is to experience this physical form. And so it goes down from, you can say, whereas it descends down as it enters your body through, we can say again, through the crown chakra or through the vortex on your head. It goes down to the root chakra. The root chakra is the earth principle to experience this physical nature. Although again that we have the responsibility now to raise this energy back up into the head or into heaven. This energy is given birth to, or is born within us, all of us, every month, 12 times a year, in what we call the Bethlehem manger, or the solar plexus chakra. So Bethlehem manger or solar plexus chakra, this is where obviously where the Virgo constellation rules, because here in the head we're talking Aries, so here on the stomach we are ruled by Virgo. Virgo obviously is the Virgin Mary principle in the zodiac, which then gives birth to Christ energy within us every month when the when the moon is in your sun sign. And therefore when that happens, then you have the chance to raise the energy back up in tithing, which we know as, obviously, in terms of going to church, physically speaking, we know as that we have to give our money, tithing. So now we're talking esoterically. So you tithe by not squandering this energy in many forms that we can mess it up, either in the sexual form, which is the biggest, by partaking in drugs, substance abuse, by not eating good food, and in general not living well. Sleeping is also included. So obviously now we want to raise this energy back up. We have to do the opposite of what I've just mentioned. Eat good food, sleep enough, abstain from sexual activities, because not every time we have to be involved in those activities. And then also practice meditation, exercise. Then this energy goes back up, and as it goes back up, it obviously goes through the Jacob's ladder, which is our spinal cord again. And our spinal cord represents obviously our life form, hence it's in a snake form, or it is represented by snakes or snake, as we learn also from the Hindu faith, or should I say the Hindu yes, let me just say the Hindu faith, from different books of faith that they have, the Phaphama Gita and others, that this snake that has to come up is represented by what we call the Kundalini energy that has to come up, which is obviously two snakes intertwining, which represents on the physiological level two nerves that are now polarized between two energies, the masculine and feminine principle, electric and magnetic. And therefore this energy rises up in all the chakras as it goes up, activating them, and then as it reaches now the pineal gland, the optic thalamus, the pituitary gland, then goes to the crown chakra. Now this is where the energy is, we say, Christed or crucified, because you've raised the chrism, you've raised Christ. Now Christ is now crucified. Also Christ is resurrected. Crucified because this energy will stay at least 2.5 days in the optic thalamus before it goes back down, both in the two glands, which will then secrete these two energies, because one gland, pineal gland, will be the honey, and then the pituitary gland will be the milk. Therefore it will then now be separated, for the mere fact that both of these, as I say, milk and honey, will have to go through the different nerves, because one represents the male aspect and the other one represents the female aspect. And then after these 2.5 days, the energy is multiplied 1,000-fold by the crown chakra, you can say. And then it goes back down to activate now your dormant brain cells, to heal you, to open you up to new possibilities of your own consciousness in your successive levels, obviously, of your consciousness. And now as it goes back down, it represents Santa Claus, because now it's going back down the chimney and it's bearing gifts. Then it goes back down, obviously activating your crown chakras, your 7 chakras again, healing you, giving you vitality. And therefore, obviously, on the, again, physical aspect of things, our bodies also represent Christ. because on the principle of Trinity, our mind represents the Father, our hearts or emotions represents the Holy Spirit, energy in motion, the Holy Spirit or the Mother, and then our bodies represents Christ, because our bodies are representative of the active masculine principle. Hence, obviously, when you see all these different religions throughout the whole world, throughout history, in fact, you find that there's always a father, the mother, and a boy child. The boy child is not on the premise of, or on the level of gender in the physical state of things, but the gender itself as a boy represents the active masculine principle, the fact that we are here on this third dimensional level, and our souls have incarnated and inhibited this body, this avatar, in order to take action on this realm. So to engage planet Earth, to engage in creating, co-creating with the universe, with God, with the higher power. That's what the principle means. That's why you'll see Jesus Christ with Mary, and you can say Joseph, and then you'd find Osiris, Isis, and then Horus. And you'll see also Shiva, Shakti, and also you'll find Ganesha Ganapati being the sun. So obviously these energies are representative, as I say, of the active masculine principle and not the physical state of things. Hence you'll find all of these religions are talking about the same thing. They're just obviously changing the mother, the father, and the son according to their own specific cultures of where they are in the world and what it means for them in that particular time frame. And also, so now when we speak of the intangible aspect, or quote unquote the software, when we are born obviously, and then our families, the society itself, the environment teaches us who we are, what this environment is about, what's going on. And therefore, one of the important things that we learn first, according to the successive levels of consciousness, we start learning of who we are, what it means to be who we are, our cultures, and whatsoever. And therefore, that principle obviously envisaged again on the root chakra, when we learn of who we are. Mostly, as we learn and growing up, we, as our society is right now, we are mostly socialized or trained on our left brain aspect. So left brain aspect representing the ego aspect, the analytical, the mathematical, linear aspect of things. And then we never prioritize both the hemispheres of the cerebrum, which now the right brain is the creative aspect, the non-linear, the imaginative aspect of us. So then you can see with our society, we prioritize obviously this ego aspect, and therefore we grow up thinking, again, based on how we've been taught and socialized and conditioned, that we are our thoughts, we are our minds, we are our bodies. So meaning then the ego has taken charge. And then it becomes difficult to discuss, to even see yourself beyond what the ego has already projected itself as for you. So now you want to entertain the idea that there is a higher power in the world. There's something greater than this self that you think you are, this voices in your head. Now, these voices in your head is your ego. But now you're trying to go beyond that. It won't be easy because the ego doesn't want anything beyond it. And therefore, when you try seeing the fact that meaning you want to activate or listen more to your higher self than your ego. You want to leave this egotistical state that you are in, confined in. It becomes difficult because now the ego is running the show. And other people even go to their graves not knowing that they were prisoners of their own selves. Because they thought they were their own thoughts. They thought they were their own minds, their own bodies. Because that's what the ego projected and wanted them to think they were. So it's important, obviously, as we live this life, to sort of, you can say, as we also say in the esoteric world of things. So we say children have to be taught about religion as physicality of things, fairy tale and whatsoever. But once they are grown up, they have to be told the truth of why and what it means for that religion or those books of faith to be taught in that physical state of nature. They have to be told what does Santa Claus represent, for example, because now they are old enough. But the society lets these children, which is part of us, to grow up and think that the fairy tales that taught us in Sunday school and whatsoever when we were growing up or during our formative years, that's the truth and there's nothing beyond it. Because now obviously those that yield the information or knowledge can control you, because you don't know who you are, and what you know is what they want you to know. And so now that's why we have this world of chaos, because the ego is running the show. So obviously also again in the esoteric world, the ego is represented by Satan or the devil. Because the ego is it's these voices in your head that will be telling you you're not good enough. You can't do this. No, do this, do it like this. And it's always loud and and therefore it is important to embark on this journey of finding your true self. In fact, not of finding, because you already are your true self, but to sort of peel back the layers that the ego has already put in front of you to blind you, the illusion that the ego has projected throughout your whole entire life to make you believe it is you. Because your ego is not you. It is a part of you. So now the importance of rising Christ is so important, because now this is now you accepting the higher self, coming back to run things, to take control of things, your true authentic self, which has already been, you can say, confined and pushed down for so many years by your ego, because your ego is trying to tell you things that you weren't. This is also representative, obviously, as we see in the Hindu faith, Ganesha Ganapati riding a rat from the bosom of our sacrum, the bottom of the 33 vertebrae spinal cord. He rises up riding this rat to represent the rat as the ego. Meaning now, at some point you have to take responsibility to liberate that ego. Because if you don't liberate it, it will forever be unconscious. And it will run the show. Because obviously, what I'm saying now may also be angering to other people, making them sad and angry. Like, why is this person saying these things? Because I believed things like this and like that. So that anger again is not your true authentic self angry, because your true authentic self is open, is accepting. It's the ego that's angry, because the ego doesn't want challenges, doesn't want to be told, no, it's not yellow, it's blue. It wants to keep what it has, what it knows, until death do us apart. That's what the ego does. And therefore, if now what I'm saying is angering you, you have to think twice. Just observe those thoughts. Those, no, he's lying, or why is he saying this? Oh no, whatever that's going on within the head now. That's making the ego throw a tantrum, making the ego go off, and because then those things that are going on in the head are mostly what influences people's actions. Because as long as you think you are those thoughts, that's what you will act as, be like. That's where your character will be derived from, because this is what you think you are. You think you are your thinking. The process of thinking, you think that's who you are. You don't see it as a function within yourself to work for you, because you are the observer of those thoughts. But no, you are the thoughts itself. You understand? So when now we are confused between those two, when the ego is running the show, it becomes very difficult to awaken from the illusion that's presented to us by society. It becomes difficult to see the matrix. It becomes so difficult to understand, 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 and overstand where we are, what we've been told, and therefore what to do about that. How to go about learning new ways to awaken ourselves, so as to become the better versions of ourselves. Because we are not here to serve the ego, but we're here to be our true authentic self, so that we can reach our highest potential. And this is what now the Christ consciousness also teaches us, the fact that it is the potentiality within us in terms of consciousness successively that we could reach, so as to co-create with our greatest ideas to make life however we see fit. That's why also when you see the story in the Bible, Christian book of faith, about David and Goliath, because obviously the Bible itself, or these books of faith, are a representative of the intangible aspects of things, the principles of our consciousness, and not the obvious historical fact that we see when we read the books. That's the first level of the codex, because it's a code, and you have to unravel the code to understand what the book is intended for and what it means. Hence, it is not easy to understand when you are not initiated into the esoteric realms of things. That's why we see our society has what we call the secret societies and all those things. But obviously, you don't have to go through that to understand or to unravel the secrets of these books. You can understand them by just, you can say being chosen by God to understand them. When your purpose obviously is to unravel these secrets, then you will unravel them. Somehow you won't have to go through quote unquote a synagogue, a secret society in order to learn, but your life itself, it will be the initiation. You go through things to prepare you for what God is trying to open things to, or your consciousness is trying to open up to, so that you can understand and understand and understand what you have to do, or what is being presented to you by Spirit. And therefore, David and Goliath are representative of these energies I'm talking about. David is the representation of the Christ consciousness, and Goliath is the representation of the ego. Hence, Goliath, the physical form, is seen as big and body builded and buff and all that, because that's how the ego is. It's noisy, it's pompous, it's it's all of that. Like, I know no one can tell me anything. So obviously, as also you see in the movie, when Goliath comes out to represent his side of the army, the Palestinians, no soldier from his side can challenge him because of his stature. He's big, and he's just gonna bulldoze you with one swing of his sword or whatsoever that he's using. So that represents now, obviously, in the esoteric things, the pompous nature, the loud nature, the way in which our ego will work so hard to convince us of the illusion. And then David is representative of Christ, because now David, you can see in the physical nature of things, is represented as a small man who only has a sling. But this small man is not said that he already has experience in fighting lions, wolves, bears, and all those other big and scary beasts of nature. He's just seen as this small man who's going to fight this big Goliath. Understand? So this is a representative, because now, as you raise Christ, as also you would know that your higher self is never loud. It's always this small voice within you that tells you, no, don't do this, do it like this. That's always telling you to do the right thing. And obviously, because of the loud nature of your ego, it pushes down this voice, confines it to a corner, because the existence of this voice threatens the existence of the ego. So the ego will do everything to protect itself. That's why also when you see in the movie, the ego now being Goliath cannot just fight David without getting the applause from the crowd or the cheers of the crowd. That will then give him that sense of provide, or that, okay, now we're doing this, we're going in, I'm going to smash this boy. Because now even himself is asking himself, how come this small boy so brave to face me when all of the other soldiers on his side, which is the Israelites, are scared of me? How come? Because He already intimidates people with his body stature. He is incapable of understanding that physicality of things are not greater than spirit, because physicality of things come from the unseen. So a small boy can win against a big boy or whatsoever, because the way in which they go about fighting is not only on the physical state of nature or the outside form, but it's within, it's the spirit. And also the greatest fight you can ever fight with in this world as an individual is not a fight with someone else externally. It will always be a fight within yourself. This is the greatest con ever that an ego is pulling on people, because people dearly and with all their lives believe that they are their own egos, and therefore the ego sits comfortably knowing that if whatever that you do threatens its existence, it will just get you to do things that will be harmful to you, so that it survives. It does not face humiliation, you can say, by being taken down by David, for example. So I hope my explanations of the software, the intangible aspect, and the physiological aspect of this Christ consciousness makes sense, so that you can understand that we are not battling the physical things, although the physicality is important as well, but we are in fact battling spirit. Not spirit in terms of the good nature of things, but we're battling the other spirit forms, the demons and whatsoever, the wrong mindsets, the evil mindsets, or evil as I say. That's what we're battling. We're not battling flesh and blood, as the Christian Book of Faith would say. We're fighting principalities. We're fighting ideas. Hence you see countries go to war. It's not because of physical things, it's because of ideologies. You see it this way, I see it that way, and therefore we fight. But that's just the ego again, because the ego wants to be the one on top, say you are wrong, I'm right, yeah, I'm always right. That's the ego. Hence the pompous nature is represented by Goliath. So I hope, well, I know and I trust that you will face your own awakening journey with confidence and with courage, because it's not an easy path, and yet it is fulfilling, and yet it is the only way to your true authentic self, I would say, because again you have to challenge this already established belief system that you already have, that I say are projected by your ego. And so the ego has to move to the side, and then your authentic self, true authentic self, has to take the driving seat, so as to determine your life from now on, and not what your ego wants you to do, because your ego is always worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. It's always worried about what are people going to say. Why are they saying this about me? Why are they not doing this for me? This and that. That's the ego. It's always worried about the physical state of things. The fact that you're going to die one day, the ego is worried about that. But your true authentic self is not worried about that, because you cannot kill your true authentic self. It's eternal. That's your soul. And so, obviously, the ego is also representative of the physical state of nature of things, physicality, the material. Hence, it clings onto it, you know. Hence, also it gives you this definition and projection that you are your body, you are your material form. And then, when you believe that, you live that concept, belief system, then you take things, clothing, you know, cars and all that other things, and houses and whatever that the physical nature can bring for you, then you think those things are you know, or you then now take your self-esteem, self-confidence, and also the who you are according to your own definition, you attach it to these things that you can immerse for yourself. Your clothing, brands, your thing, you know, you say you are these things, and then when those things are not there, then, you know, there's this misalignment that you no longer feel like you are yourself, your complete self, because of the absence of these things that you already identify yourself as. But when you understand that you are higher than those things because you've created them, nothing exists without the idea that precedes it. So meaning the intangible aspect. Everything that you see, feel, touch comes from the unseen. So even this video was once an idea. So now we're talking about it. It's happening. We're bringing it into physical form. We are now doing what I say is the active masculine principle. We are engaging F, Christ, F. So I hope I did not confuse you. I hope what I shared today was clear, and also that you can take something and use it for your own life. Whether you are coming from a religious background or you're coming from whatever background, and you just wanted to improve yourself both on the spiritual realm or on the physical aspect of things. So now you have a different view of what really Christ means and can do for you, that Christ exists within us all. It's not somewhere out there, sitting there, and then we have to go get it or buy it. No. It's already within us. So I hope this was not even difficult to understand or to fathom. I hope it also sparks something within you so that you can go and do your research and also have other conversations with other people, discuss this further, and find ways in which it can work for you, work for your family, your friends, and those that you love within your life. I hope this was helpful. And obviously I'm aware that what I'm saying might not work for everyone, but I hope now we have delved into the highest forms of what these different religions are trying to tell us, and not only the physical aspect of things, which is limiting. And then, so now you can use this information to elevate your own consciousness to another level successively, and also to then increase the chances of you reaching your highest potential in this lifetime. And so I hope you did enjoy as much as I did for just talking and sharing this information. I thank you for your time. Bye bye.